I'm going to start by qualifying that I am not a mental health professional, so I'm not speaking on these issues as a mental health professional, but I'm speaking from someone with experience of being diagnosed with ADD and seeing others and encountering others who reacted to it in different ways. And I've seen, in general, there seem to be about 3 different responses to knowing that you're diagnosed or being diagnosed with ADHD or ADD. The first 2 don't seem helpful. The last one seems extremely helpful. The first one is to ignore it. I know a lot of people don't think ADHD or ADD are a thing, and I don't want to enter into those debates, but I've seen and experienced myself that if someone seems to be showing symptoms of ADHD or ADD and they choose to ignore that, and if it may in fact be a real thing, that can be problematic. This is like running a race with hurdles that you ignore are there. And if you were to do that, you're going to trip over the hurdles because you're not ready to jump them. So ignoring ADHD or ADD that's existing is like tripping over hurdles because you don't acknowledge they're there. The second is when people I've seen happen, and done it myself, is when I see people acknowledge an ADHD, ADD diagnosis and use it as an excuse. Basically use it as a reason to check out of work, check out of meetings, check out of responsibilities. Now, that being said, there are times when you need to acknowledge that you're experiencing high anxiety levels or experiencing stimulus overload and know how to deal with that and be honest with that, but you don't want to use it as an excuse to not engage in responsibilities. I've done that. I've seen others do it. You can kind of wear it as a label, a sort of get out of jail free card in doing the things that everyone else is expected to do. That's not good for you personally, and it will make others very frustrated with you, reasonably. The third, so that being said, that is going back to the track analogy. That's like recognizing and acknowledging the hurdles, but choosing to run poorly or opt out of the race altogether. The last approach, and the one that I've slowly learning to use, and I found to be very helpful, is to acknowledge ADD, ADHD diagnosis and choose to become good at jumping the hurdles. So this is when you know there's hurdles in the race and you choose to train yourself to jump them and jump them well. And what happens in this is you become a good athlete. In my own experience, so I was diagnosed with ADD as an adult, and if you ask my parents, you ask my wife, I meet the descriptions dead on. I don't have the hyperactive part, but I have the dissociative part where a lot of cognitive tasks, especially where there's high stimuli, high degree of moving parts, also high social stimuli like long meetings where a lot of people are talking, seem to be more difficult for me than they are the average person. I experience high levels of anxiety. I experience mental paralysis. I shut down, I become overwhelmed, I get stuck. And I seem to do it more than a person who wouldn't be diagnosed with ADD. But what I've found is I acknowledge that hurdle and I develop systems that compensate for those weaknesses. So for me, one system that I use, for example, is David Allen's Getting Things Done productivity system. It's a very thorough system that takes a lot of discipline, but you keep things out of your head and you keep systems running that keep things in check. Because of this, while in my own head, I am a less organized person than the average person, I am worse at being able to keep things together mentally I know this. A lot of times, I think that I'm often more reliable because I have a very disciplined and thorough system. I don't keep things in my head. I've learned to not trust that, and therefore, at times, am a more organized person in my own way. Maybe not more organized, but I am more reliable to follow through on things because I have a system in which I'm not trusting my own mind. So, if you think you have or actually have an ADHD, ADD diagnosis, and this probably goes for a lot of mental health things, but can only speak from experience, I would say don't ignore it. You'll trip over hurdles that you need to recognize. Don't use it as an excuse. That's not good for you and will make others frustrated with you. Acknowledge the hurdle and learn to become really good at jumping the hurdle.